This week in the AWS Developers Podcast, we're diving into the identity of AI agents. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for downloading the AWS Developers Podcast. We are available in all good podcast applications every Friday. And today is a special day because we are going to talk about drumroll, AI and AI agent, and more specially focus on the identity and the exchange of token between the user, the agent, the end service that agents might use. What are the challenges you as a developer you might face when dealing with such identity and authorization flow, and how some AWS services, and the one we are going to talk about today is called Amazon Bedrock AgentCore Identity, can help you to solve this type of challenge. And to explain all that to us, someone that you already listened to in a previous episode of the podcast, it's Abram Douglas. Thank you for joining us again to talk about identity and token again. I know it's hard to talk about authentication flows in an audio-only podcast. We want to have a white background, a board, and draw sequence diagrams and things like that. The good news, Abram, is that you wrote a blog post that our listeners can refer to. If they want to see the sequence diagram, they will see it.
Yes. So it's good to be back, and always excited to talk about anything identity, but agentic AI is definitely a very popular thing. Lots of customers have interest in it and wanting to build automated processes using AI agents, right? But to really kick things off, let's talk at a high level. Just what is AgentCore?
Yeah, AgentCore, that's my question for you.
Yeah.
At high level, AgentCore is a new service that you announced at the summit in New York City during the summer. It was in July, if I remember well. So yes, explain us, what is Bedrock AgentCore?
Yeah, so at a high level, I love to really describe it such as this. It allows you and enables you to deploy and operate AI agents securely at scale. Right, so using any framework, any model. Now,
that's something we do since 20 years at AWS.
Yeah.
When we released EC2, it was to allow you to deploy your web application or your workload securely and at scale. So are we repeating history here, and we reproduce with AgentCore what we did with EC2 and 20 years ago and Lambda 10 years ago or 15?
So I think we were taking it even further, right? And this is now really removing, and we say this common within AWS, and I think it stands still. It resonates with this as well, and it's really removing some of the heavy lifting and really providing the undifferentiated, removing all of that and making it simple for developers. So the way I like to think of it is with AgentCore, it really is offering infrastructure that's purpose built for dynamic agent workloads, right? So it includes access to tools and allows you to enhance agents and provide essential controls for real world deployment. So it's really removing all of the smaller pieces and worrying about having to deploy EC2 and then now build on top of that, or building Lambda and then having to build on top of that. So AgentCore just really gives you some of these core primitives. It's really a comprehensive set of enterprise grade services, and there's 7 of these. So there's 7 services that make up AgentCore.
Yeah, it's like EC2 plus Elastic Beanstalk plus SQS plus S3. If I have to continue my comparison with the application world.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to sort of visualize sort of the difference between it.
So what are these 7 components? The first one is AgentCore, the runtime. It's the Lambda for your AI agents.
Yeah, so runtime, right. Runtime's up front, and this really provides you this low latency serverless environment. Gives you the session isolation, supporting any agent framework. So this includes, it's very important, right? Includes any of the popular open source frameworks, tools, or models. And this really just handles all the multi-model workloads and long-running agents as well. So whether it's a short task or a long-running, runtime can support this.
That's number one. That's
number
kind
one.
of the core, hence the name, the AgentCore runtime. But then we have all these supporting and maybe optional services as well.
Yeah, and it's also important that these services are modular. So maybe you have an agent that's already running somewhere else. You can actually start to integrate these other services with that agent as well. So the next one is memory. And so with Agent Core Memory, this just gives you the ability to manage sessions or long-term memory. So you can think about it like this. It's providing relevant context to models that's really allowing and helping your agents learn from past interactions. So instead of you having to worry and build out, where am I going to house this short-term interaction of this agent, or maybe long-term, you don't have to worry about that. You can just use Agent Core Memory and use that to actually house, any of these past interactions with agents.
So it helps me as a developer to build an agent that can remember the context of the user, like the previous conversation that we had and the previous result and the preferences for the user.
Yeah, that is correct. That's a good use case of how it can be used.
So it's a database. It's a managed database.
It's definitely managed and allows you to not have to worry about where am I going to house some of this, right? So yeah.
And I guess there are some vector things and possibilities to summarize and compress history. So I was a bit joking when I said it's a database. But I'm a simple person. I like to have things in boxes. Runtime, it's like the Lambda for my AI agent. Memory, it's a persistence service. It's like a database for my agent.
Yes. And then, we have observability. So, getting that step-by-step visualization of the agent executions and being able to have metadata tagging, trajectory inspection, troubleshooting, debugging. So just really, hey, what is the AI agent doing? And just getting that observability and having it as a service so that you can just go and visualize what's happening, see what's going on, help you debug quicker to understanding what's happening and what these agents are doing. So again, removing the ability of you having to build all that out, right? So if we follow your model, right, think about
it's CloudWatch and X-Ray.
Think about like X-Ray, CloudWatch, maybe a little bit of CloudTrail, depending on the scenario, right? You may have to figure all of that out, where now you have a dedicated service for your AI agents and your agentic workloads. So that's where the observability can come in.
That's number 3, and you said 7. Number 4.
Yeah, number 4. So gateway. So this is also
this one is awesome.
This is also pretty important, right? So this is really almost transforming your existing APIs, possibly your existing Lambdas as well, depending on how you're using it. And it turns it into like agent-ready tools, right? Offering a unified access across protocols, supports things like MCP, runtime discovery. So this really gives you that endpoint, that API that allows your agents to actually go and interact with other services and tools and things of that nature.
I really love that one because it means I have existing API, and of course all enterprise have existing API, and by using the AgentCore gateway, I can expose these existing API as MCP tools to any tools, not only to agent running inside the runtime. It might be inside Visual Studio Code or Kiro or other MCP client.
Yeah, before you may have to stitch all of these things together in these different APIs, and now you have something to help centralize this for you and make it available for your agents. Then we want to talk about identity. I'll talk about this briefly because we're going to dive much deeper into it. But identity at a high level really is just enabling AI agents to securely access AWS services or third-party tools and services, things like GitHub, Salesforce, Slack, right? And this can be either on behalf of users or by themselves with pre-authorized user consent. So we're going to dive much deeper into identity in this session.
I have to admit it's not very clear from that description right now, but the rest of the episode is about AgentCore Identity, so we're going to dive deeper. So runtime, memory, observability, identity, and the API gateway. That's 5.
Gateway, that's 5. So we'll go through the last 2 a little quicker, and that's AgentCore Browser. So this provides a managed cloud-based web browser instance. So you can actually scale your agents' web automation workflows and how your agents are interacting with websites. So gives you that, managed cloud-based web browser.
So that's useful if I want to write an agent to access service for which there is no API or no public API, and it allows me to basically do web scraping, start a web browser somewhere in a container environment, and securely scrape data from website.
Yeah, and you can almost think, I think at a high level, it's a good description, right? And then let's get to our last one, right? And that's the code interpreter. So that just offers like an isolated environment to run code of your agents, and it allows you to do this in a sandbox environment. So
super important to repeat, all these services can be used independently of each other. So you can choose to use the tool or the web processor tool or the gateway for an agent not running inside AgentCore runtime. And you can also deploy an agent written for any open source framework inside AgentCore runtime without using all the other tools as well. You really choose the modularity or the granularity of the service you want to use.
Yep, that is correct. And that's how it's all designed. So depending on your use case, right, there may be scenarios where maybe all 7 actually benefit what you're building, or maybe only a couple actually are needed or can be used for what you're building.
That's why I like the analogy of a Lambda plus CloudWatch plus SQS plus S3, because you can just deploy your code to Lambda. That's the equivalent of the runtime. Or you can use S3 from an application running on your laptop. And it's the same idea, the same modularity. So let's dive into AgentCore Identity. What are the challenges that developers have? Let's pretend I'm a developer. I'm writing my next super AI agent for my multi-million startup, and that agent will help user to collaborate effectively, and it needs to access the user Gmail and Google Calendar, for example. So what are the different identities we are talking about, and what are the challenge for a developer to deal with all these identities?
Yeah, so there's definitely a few different, identities that are involved in some of what we're going to walk through. But I think the question you asked of what challenges is solving is very important to understand. And, as you're building these AI agents to go and do things, you have to think about how do you secure the actual identity of that agent itself, right? So if the agent is a workload and it's going off to access, data within AWS, for example, well, what is the identity of that AI agent? How do you actually perform and understand what actually workload, what AI agent is doing this? And this kind of gives you just some of that core principles, right? So right at the bat, AgentCore Identity gives you this centralized agent identity management, right? So it serves as a unified directory. So as you start scaling and growing the number of AI agents, it provides you this central directory where these were all the identities for your AI agents. And it provides you that single source of truth of where all of your agents run. So whether you are using runtime in AWS or you have some type of agent running somewhere else, it can serve as that central directory for you. So that's very important up front.
So it's a repository of identities for my agent themselves.
Correct.
To start with.
Correct. And what's great here is it gives you the ability where each of these agent identities now have their own distinct and immutable identifier as well. So these can be represented as that Amazon resource name, right? The ARN. And then again, gives you that central view. So that's sort of upfront and one key important thing. But then what does that even matter, right? A second very important thing is a token vault. So we have a feature called a token vault. And this is a way where it can be a secure storage for credentials, OAuth 2 tokens, API keys, OAuth 2 client secrets, for example. And so the question you asked around maybe an AI agent is going off and maybe going to read my Google Calendar. Well, that AI agent must obtain an access token that is representative of me. So where is that going to be secured? So without AgentCore Identity, you are having to figure out where am I going to secure this token?
Secret Manager.
Right. So sure, you can put it in Secrets Manager. But once you start scaling this out and once you have different identities, so it's pretty simple if it's just one user.
Yeah,
But if
the challenge is you have multiple user, multiple agent, multiple identities, and if you just use Secret Manager, it might become quickly a mess, or and be quite costly as well, because I think it's $1 per month per secret in Secret Manager.
Yeah, I think a very important thing about the token vault also is, as a human user is interacting with a workload that is invoking this AI agent to do things, as this AI agent will go off and obtain an access token on my behalf, once that token is secured in the token vault, it is bound by that AI agent, again, its own distinct identity, and my identity as a user.
So
So
I need two
therefore,
keys to access the secure secret. It's my identity and the agent identity, and we need the combination of the two to actually access the token.
correct. And it pretty much binds that token to that user and to that AI agent. So this is a very important thing. So even if using just a straightforward secrets
Secret
manager of any
Mhm.
kind, or
I would have to build something.
you'd have to build something.
Yeah.
You have to build some mapping of that secret to this user, and maybe through metadata you could do something, right? But you still have to build that.
Mhm. So what else we have in AgentCore Identity?
Yeah. So we also just have the native support for like some of the OAuth 2 flows. So again, talking about the human user, if I have the agent saying, go and read my Google Calendar, the agent will facilitate going to that site, but then challenging back to me to log in. And then the agent core identity will pick up, obtain that access token from that service, and secure it in the vault. So agent core identity is actually facilitating that entire flow. So again, without agent core identity, you would have to figure out, well, how am I going to redirect to the authorization server of this external service to actually present the login screen? How am I going to handle the callback? How am I going to handle the authorization code exchange for the token? And so all of this now becomes managed through Agent Core Identity. And this is where some of that support for the OAuth 2 authorization code flow is now part of Agent Core Identity.
We are going to dive deep into
And we're going to dive deep into that, yeah.
That sequence of action. But yes, I can imagine as a developer, if I have to support Google authentication from an agent, yes, I need to call the Google API to redirect the user back to the authentication screen, to interact with the Google API again to obtain the token, and then do something with that token. So that's a lot of code. Doesn't seem super complex to do it right. Actually, to make it right at scale and secure, it's extremely complex. So if we have something that does that for us, that's a bit of heavy lifting remove from my shoulders. Before we dive into an example of how Agent Core Identity can help developer, are there more services available from Agent Core Identity for developers?
I think there's probably some good baselines that kind of carry forward. So things like just agent identity access controls, right? So being able to support that delegated authentication flow is obviously there, but then you can have authorization decisions based on the provided credentials during that delegated process, right? So it's just kind of expanding on some of that. And then Agent Core in general has an SDK. So it is the Agent Core SDK. And this is very nice. It's very useful with identity especially, but it works very well with all Agent Core services. But this just gives you like declarative annotations that can handle some of the automatic credential handling of retrieval, injection. And this just reduces so much of boilerplate code you may have to develop or create. So Agent Core Identity through its Agent Core SDK is definitely something that can just accelerate, building of AI agents and using.
So as a developer, I don't need to interact with the AgentCore Identity API directly. I can use the SDK. Two things about that SDK. First, I guess it's Python only.
It is
at the
Python only
time.
today at the moment.
At the moment, that episode is recorded a few weeks before publication, so everything might change in the next couple of weeks. But at the moment of recording, it's Python only, and it's separate from the AWS SDK. It means as an AI developer, as an AI agent developer, I don't need to embark the full AWS SDK that gives access to all services. There is a purpose-made, tailor-made SDK to write agent.
Yes, yeah, it is purpose built, and it handles a lot of even automatic error handling for like common things that would be extremely difficult to build out, like things like handling token expiration, right? The token's expired, so what to do now? So this SDK helps actually facilitate, let me hand off and collect a new access token for that user. So yeah, definitely a very good SDK to help get it started.
Let's go back to the example I announced in the introduction of this episode. I'm an AI agent developer, and I want to create an AI agent that is able to interact with, let's say, Google services, my mail, and my calendar. What are the different identities? What are the different tokens? What are the different challenges, and how AgentCore Identity can help? So maybe let's start with the user. Let's make you are the user, I'm the AI agent, or we can play role differently if you prefer. But let's say you are the user. What's your user experience to start with?
Yeah, so I think for this use case, it's good we can start with something simple. And let's imagine that there's, either a web or a mobile application. And this application is something that just helps me schedule meetings and helps me just manage my busy life, right? So you can imagine I go to this web application and I sign in. Just pretty standard, right? Any application that exists out there
no
today.
AI related stuff.
No AI related stuff, right?
Just a simple sign-on.
Just simple sign-on. And, this sign-in could actually be using Amazon Cognito just as an example, or it could be using any other identity provider. And so I log in, and now the application knows who I am. There's an ID token, there's an access token, maybe even a refresh token now there, right? So very simple.
That are stored on the application side. So typically on the server side,
right.
Not returned back to the client.
Correct. But now within that web application, it's going to allow me to interact with an AI agent. Maybe this is through a chat interface. Maybe this is
or maybe just a button. Schedule a meeting for me.
Schedule a meeting for me, yep.
And the application triggers an AI agent.
Now the application will trigger the AI agent. So in this case, if you are the AI agent...
I am the AI agent. So what should I...
Yep. I click this button that says schedule a meeting for me.
And one of the things I receive is the access token or the identity token collected by the application. So I know who is calling me, correct?
Correct. That is one of the things that you are going to receive through the application, is that access token that belongs to me. And along with that is a prompt as well. Maybe it's a simple prompt or a command or an action just to schedule a meeting.
So I know what to do and for
what to do and for who. But since this happens to be for Google, you have to do something first.
I have to authenticate you on Google. I need to know who you are for Google.
There's even a step before that. You need to actually authenticate yourself. You yourself need to get your own access token.
I'm a legal agent. I want to access your service on behalf of one of my users. That's the idea.
Correct.
Yep. How can I do that?
So we'll call this the workload access token. And so you as the AI agent is going to take in my access token as input, and ultimately an API, which is called Get Workload Access Token for JWT, JWT, JSON Web Token, which is what the access token is that I've supplied to you. And that API essentially will start the flow. So for you to get your own access token.
I have multiple questions there. Stop.
Yep.
First one, I never heard about that workflow. Is it part of O2? Is it new? Did I overlook at it?
So it is new. I would say that this is a very important step though, because now what this is doing is it is essentially returning an access token right back to you.
The agent.
For the agent. So now the agent has its own immutable identity to go and do what it needs to do.
And that's the identity of the agent. It's not tied to the user. So it's something the agent needs to do only once to communicate with Google. So once per resource.
I would say it is bound to the user, right? Because in this scenario, since the access token that belonged to me, the user, was supplied to the agent,
to me,
as that
the
call,
agent.
And that access token is actually used to make this API call. So this now, when we talk about that token vault and the binding, this actually now helps bind that workload access token to this user through that interaction.
Okay, so I'm the agent. I receive your user access token. I call a Google API, and once again, we say Google, but it's any backend
Well, we're not at Google yet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was the part I missed. So I, the AI agent, called Amazon Bedrock AgentCore Identity to say, hey, give me a token to link my identity and the user identity. And Bedrock AgentCore Identity give me this workload token.
Yes.
Okay. So I have the workload token. What do I do with that?
So now that you have your own workload access token, because the original prompt was to go to Google, now this is where we start that interaction.
The OAuth flow, the traditional OAuth flow.
Okay. Yes. Now, what happens here is AgentCore will begin an OAuth 2 authorization code flow. So this means that there's a human user involved.
That's important what you said. It's AgentCore Identity that starts the OAuth flow. So as a developer of the AI agent, I don't have to write anything. AgentCore Identity will initiate the OAuth flow with the backend service.
Yes, very, very important, right? Because just simply based on the prompt originally, based on what needs to take place, AgentCore Identity is now going to actually start, and it fully is going to facilitate that flow. So you as a developer don't have to figure out, do I need to redirect the user somewhere? What do I do next? You don't have to figure that piece out.
So it means AgentCore Identity, or the agent needs to have a client ID or app ID registered on the Google site. It's an app ID, I guess.
It is, yes, you're correct. So there does need to be a registration on the Google side with AgentCore Identity. That I would consider that a prerequisite here.
Yeah. Something to do once for all to set up the system. So if I remember well what I know from OAuth, when we start an OAuth flow and the client ID and client secrets are valid and everything, the backend resource we're trying to access sends back a login page.
Correct.
But right now, it's not exposed at the user. It's either the AI agent or AgentCore Identity.
It is. But what's happening is AgentCore Identity is essentially going to the AI agent and saying, for me to actually do something on behalf of the user,
you need to authenticate the user.
I need the user to authenticate. So AgentCore Identity will return that authorization endpoint.
And the AI agent will return it to the application, and the application will redirect the browser.
That is perfect, yes.
Okay.
So essentially the client is going to get that signal back to say, hey, you need to authenticate, and that client, so the web browser in this case, will redirect to, in this example, Google's sign-in page, essentially.
And so you, as the user, you see the Google sign-in page. You can authenticate with username, password, passkey, multi-factor authentication, whatever you configured on Google. And Google will give you, or the application acting on your behalf, an access token.
So this is very important. Part of that configuration is the callback, the redirect URL is going to AgentCore Identity. So after I do sign in with Google,
Ooh. Okay, so it means the token does not go back to you. The token goes back directly to identity. To AgentCore Identity.
You're correct. You're correct. So, and this is what's really nice here, because your AgentCore Identity isn't directly getting an access token right away. It's actually getting an authorization code. So it's still a very secure exchange. So AgentCore Identity is getting back a valid authorization code. AgentCore Identity entirely on its own will actually call the Google endpoints, exchange that authorization code, and then it gets back an access token. And what's a very key feature here of AgentCore Identity is that access token it gets back, it is directly secured into the token vault.
It's never exposed to the agent. It's not exposed to the agent. It's not exposed to the application.
Correct.
So at this time, let's break. We have 3 tokens. There is a user token that you obtain from your identity provider. There is a workload token that the AI agent obtained from AgentCore Identity. And there is the backend back service, in this case, Google token, that is an access token for the user, but that was intercepted by AgentCore Identity that never went back to the user and is now stored on AgentCore Identity Vault.
That is correct.
Okay, so looks like our authentication sequence is finished, or is there an additional step?
So as far as authentication, I think we're done. We have our 3 tokens and everything has a purpose, right? All these tokens have a purpose. So what's important now is the actual action, right? So remember the original
I want to schedule. You want to schedule a meeting with me. You want me to schedule a meeting for you.
So now what will happen is AgentCore Identity, the AI agent at least, has the ability to obtain that access token from the token vault. That is for Google.
So as a developer of the AI agent, I can write code that interacts with AgentCore Identity to say, hey, AgentCore Identity, it's me, you validate me already. Please give me the token for Abram that you just obtained from Google. So that I can use that token to make API calls on Google.
Correct. And AI agent, you're using the access token that was delivered to you before, that workload access token.
To prove my identity.
To prove your identity. Correct.
Wow. And all of that is nicely encapsulated in the AgentCore SDK. So all the low-level details are totally hidden from a developer point of view.
Correct. Yeah, definitely an accelerator to get up and running with AgentCore Identity.
That's so I have a stupid question. Tokens expire. What happens if there is a token expiration? Typically, in our old world, we have 2 tokens. There is also a refresh token that we can use to refresh an expired token. How does it work here?
Yeah. So today, AgentCore is in preview today. The general availability is still to be determined, right? So definitely, definitely pay attention and follow AWS what's new and everything. But today it really is securing that access token.
Okay.
So when that access token does expire, you could almost think of that process needs to start again that we discussed earlier, where I need to obtain a new access token. So ideally, the idea here is, let's imagine the access token is good for an hour. So anything that needs to be done within that hour can happen. But just past that hour, that OAuth 2 authorization code flow would have to take place again.
And who will detect that the access token has expired? Is it me, the developer of the AI agent, that needs to write code? Is it AgentCore Identity that will say, hey, that token is invalid, you need to restart again?
I think there's a couple options. So for one, the AI agent is going to obtain that access token out of the vault. So it could actually do a check there. These are using JSON Web Tokens, so there could be a quick check that actually just validates that. However, you may be able to just use that token, and upon failure will actually indicate that the token is no longer good. So you gotta that sort of is that signal to start that
To start the
authentication flow again. So
it might look a bit complex like that. Actually, no, it is complex. Let's face it. But AgentCore Identity tries to hide most of this complexity, and the SDK tries to hide most of the complexity for you. And actually, when you have the sequence diagram that you draw for your blog post under your eyes, your explanation is extremely clear and easy to follow. So I invite you, if you didn't follow the conversation, to go to the blog post. The link is in your podcast app or on the website, wherever you are listening. You have all the links, John, and have a look at the sequence diagram. It's pretty clear from the sequence diagram. It's a long one, and there are 20 steps.
Yeah. It definitely can be challenging, just hearing audio. But the great thing is I do love to break down the whole flow into there's 3 steps really. The user authentication. So that's the user authenticating to the app. Pretty standard. And then we have the AI agent interaction. So this is probably where it can be complex, but AgentCore Identity helps really simplify a lot of this. And this is the agent getting its own token, the agent then going off and getting a token on behalf of a user, securing that in the token vault. And then that third step, that third phase is the AI agent actually performing an action on behalf of that user. So this is now the AI agent going back in that token vault, getting the token for the user, and then calling whatever that third-party resource is. And this, in our example, was Google Calendar. So maybe there's 2 interactions, right? The first one is just checking availability of the calendar. Then you get results back. Maybe the AI agent is intelligent enough to just go ahead and schedule time on the next available, or maybe on the next available time where there's an hour before and after that's free, right? Whatever the agent is doing. And then that second pass in is actually scheduling the calendar. And so, it's broken down really into those 3 phases: user authentication, AI agent interaction, or AI agent authentication, and then the AI agent acting on behalf of the user.
That's a really good summary. I like the way you break things down into different steps. Some of them we know quite well. It's the user authentication, and then the new ones as well. If developer wants to get started with AgentCore, the AgentCore SDK, and maybe the identity part that we talk about, what are the good resources? And of course, I will link them in your podcast app.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely a continuously daily growing amount of resources to help and get started. I think the link to the blog that we're referencing is a great place because there's going to be a ton of links in that. But there's also a AgentCore Identity samples repository. This is a great place to see different samples, different use cases. This will be linked actually in the blog. And this is a great place to just get started. Just go there. You can start interacting and building using the AgentCore SDK. And
it's fun. I have a lot of fun experimenting with these services, with Strands as well, which is the open source SDK that AWS released also a couple of months ago. So the combination of all that makes a very fun technical stack and technical environment to experiment, to learn, and also to deploy to production, because that's the goal of Bedrock AgentCore, to go to the next step, to leave your laptop and actually deploy into production. Thank you, Abram Douglas, your solution architect in the Cognito team, or identity expert, the man to talk to when you have odd questions and questions about JWT. Thank you for your very clear explanation. Thank you for having listened to this episode until the end. Next week for a new episode, but now go build.